you walk around and people are like, oh yeah, we make 20% profit, we make 25% profit. And then if you look at their owner's salary, you're like, no, you fucking don't. We always go back to owner's pay, right? And we say, hey, most of the time our owners pay themselves too little. And they have the mentality of thinking like, oh, well, this is my company, so at the end of the year, whatever is left over, whatever the net profit, that's mine, right? But we already talked about that's not true, because you're doing work in your company, which means if today you sell the company, whatever you do needs to be replaced by someone else, and we need to pay them a salary. So by not paying you for the work that you're doing just because you own the business, you're essentially grossly overstating the efficiency and the effectiveness of the business. You're throwing numbers off, right? So take a small business that's doing, let's call it $1 million, right? And let's say the owner is not paying himself anything, right? And then the net profit is $100,000. And you're like, oh, this is a pretty cool business. It makes 10%, right? But then my question is, well, what does the owner do? Like, oh, well, he's the head of sales and head of marketing, and sometimes he's the janitor, right? Whatever it is. And you count all those jobs up, and you're like, okay, if we were to go out and hire people to do these jobs, which they need to be done for the business to work, how much would it cost? And they go, oh, well, maybe like 120,000. Instantly, your business is now a company that is losing $20,000, losing 2% instead of making $100,000, making 10%. And that's two very different businesses. When I walk into a business that is losing money, my first idea is to cut cost, increase revenue, and figure out and plug the hole, right? When I walk into a business and they're making 10%, I'm more relaxed. I'm then looking at their war chest and go, okay, how do we then invest more money into the parts that are working to jack that 10% up to 20%, to 30%, right? So strategically, you're making different moves, and it's completely thrown off by you not paying yourself, right? So it goes back to the importance. I always want an entrepreneur to understand, even if you don't pay yourself with cash, put your salary in there. Make the company owe you. So at least you have that insight and understanding the truth of how good your business is, how good your money-making machine is, instead of falling into the trap and the lie that your company is doing better than it actually is. And I hear it so much, right? And there's so many excuses. And most of these entrepreneurs with, a tax accountant, and I understand the tax guys, and they have the best intentions in the world, which is to minimize your tax liability. It's like, oh, don't pay yourself, right? Because then you save on payroll taxes. Well, first of all, it's illegal, but let's get that aside. I understand that, but you're not just cheating the government, you're cheating yourself. You walk around and people are like, oh yeah, we make 20% profit, we make 25% profit. And then if you look at their owner's salary, you're like, no, you fucking don't. Like, you're making a lot less, and you need to be thinking about different things, right? Like I said, when you're making 5% profit, you got to think one way. When you're making 15%, you got to think another way. When you're making 30%, you have to think a third way, right? And your numbers have to stay true. That's number one. So do whatever you want with the government, but don't lie to yourself, right? That's number one. And number two, you always have to think from an investor's perspective. If today I don't work in this business, I just own it, how's the business doing? It is only when you think like that that you can elevate. Now you can own 2 business, 3 business, 4 business, because you have a clarity, you have the clear picture and a clear insight into reality. You're not lying to yourself.